Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So, Game of Thrones has returned for its 8th and final season. Today I thought I'd do a review of the first episode that's aired so far. So for those of you guys who didn't catch the first episode of Season 8, first of all, I just gotta ask, what are you doing right now? Put me on pause, go watch Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1. Go do that. Why are you still here? Go do that right now. Get off my channel. Get off my fucking channel. All jokes aside, this is your official spoiler alert warning. So if you don't want anything spoiled for you, go watch Game of Thrones Season 8 Episode 1. Go on, get. Am I the only one that was just left a little bit underwhelmed? Now, don't get me wrong, I know there's more than a few things to like about this episode, but this was the return of Game of Thrones after nearly a 2-year dry spell, and I for one was jonesing hard, and it all just sort of fell flat on its face. And I think that it's pretty obvious that this episode was just suffering from the severe time constrictions that this last season's been put on, and that sucks because this was the episode that had pretty much all the reunions, and it was the reunions that we were all waiting for this whole time. And allow me to put this into perspective for you. Let's take Jon's reunion scenes between Sansa and Arya and see how they pair up. When Sansa shows up to Castle Black for the first time, and her and Jon see each other, I mean, their eyes, they just lock on one another, and they stare at each other, and the Stark theme music starts playing, and they're still just staring at each other, like they're looking at a unicorn for the first time. And then the music swells, and they both just rush into each other's arms, and it just hits with this emotional impact, because, like, of course, these two people are family members that haven't seen each other in years, and for the first time in a long time, they're seeing someone that just isn't out to get them and that they can just trust unconditionally. And it hits the emotions. It gets me a little choked up every time. And this is between two characters that I don't think were ever really established with any kind of relationship at the beginning of the show. I mean, I can't actually recall any scenes where Jon and Sansa share anything together. And even if it did, I can't imagine it would establish anything kind of like a strong family bond between one another because Sansa was always such a diva about everything. Unlike between Jon and Arya, who actually have a really touching scene together where Jon brings Arya needle for the first time and they're joking around a little bit and then they hug each other and it hits that same emotional impact because it's like, yeah, both these characters are going two different directions. I mean, Arya's going south with Ned and her sister to King's Landing, Jon's going north to be part of the Night's Watch, and probably by their knowledge, they're never going to see each other again. So this hug is more like a hug of goodbye, if anything. And basically from almost that point onward, Jon believed Arya was dead up until this last season, and when they're finally reunited with one another at long last, they're just sort of like, hey, so, you want to examine each other's swords? Which actually isn't a sexual thing this one time in Game of Thrones. Surprising, I know. And it just sort of ends as quickly as it begins, all like, okay, it's great to see you. I gotta go give strong sexual signals to Gendry over there. So I will see you later. Wait a minute. I'm Arya, though. I know. And that didn't happen, but, you know, that's gotta be someone's fan fiction. Not mine, of course. I'm tragically straight. Also, I remember reading somewhere that Bran's actor said that we'd be seeing a new Bran this episode, and not so much the robot overlord that we've seen so far, which I was kind of excited for because I was like, oh, okay, so he's going to be like the Merlin Gandalf type where he's going to be like super smart, but he's probably going to build more of a personality now that he's sort of like equalized all this information that's going through his head. All right, that'd be pretty cool to see. Well, based on how he's acted in this episode, that was determined to be a lie. And something else I found, well, not necessarily as annoying as much as it was just not adulting properly. And it was, they sent the small Umber boy out to go and evacuate his house when the dead broke through the wall and were on their way and about to overrun his hold. And it's just like, if I was in that situation, I probably would have done things a little differently where I'd be like, hold up, how about, hear me out. Hear me out. Instead of sending the small child, who is the last living member of his great house, and putting him at risk, how about we keep him here, where he's safe, and he sends the guy that's right behind him, that's a part of his hold, to act in his stead with his orders to do the same thing. Logical? I feel like that's pretty logical. Send the small child. Okay, that's great. That's just great. The house of the great Jon Umber is gone now. Son of a bitch! But if you want knowing, it's the fact that all I've ever heard is that the Northerners are loyal to House Stark, the Northerners love Jon, the Northerners are loyal to Jon, the Northerners voted for Jon to be their king, but then all they ever do is just bitch and moan about every decision he makes, even when it produces good results. And now House Glover's abandoned the Starks yet again, so I'm kind of hoping they touch on that in this next episode, because you gotta think their mindset is, well, you know, if we give them the finger like they did us, the Night King's just going to overwhelm them and kill them all, and that's just going to add more undead to the Night King's army, which is just going to be more of a problem for us, which would then lead to Jon and Dany taking Drogon and Rhaegal over to House Glover's keep to lay down some Targaryen law for once, where Jon just kicks in the front door, hikes up his pants, is like, okay, let's have a little conversation about what the fuck you meant by House Glover will stand by House Stark as we've done for 1,000 years. Son of a bitch. Someone's getting their ass kicked today, and it's most likely going to be you, old man. But as I said, there's still plenty to like. I enjoyed Jon's dragon riding scene. I thought that was really well done. And I actually really liked Drogon's look he was giving Jon while he was kissing Daenerys, like, I'm not calling you dad. I'm gonna call you cousin, and you're gonna find out later why, Slick. Now, of all the emotional scenes I was bracing myself for, the one I wasn't expecting was between Daenerys and Sam, where Daenerys tells Sam about how she burned his father and his brother alive with her dragons. Before I go any further, I know there's a few of you out there who are like, well, I don't understand how she could just be so cold about it and just tell him so bluntly. Well, I think you're kind of missing the point. She didn't have to tell him anything. She chose to, even though it wasn't necessarily a benefit for her at the moment. And I think that's because she was taking a lesson from Jon, because a part of his personality is sort of rubbed off on her. And I kind of like that, because it shows this character's personality can still change at any moment and still adapt and evolve through the story, even this late in the game. And that's just cool. And Sam started doing that thing that Theon was doing when he was Reek, when Ramsay was just mentally torturing him, where he was just going like he was just bottling it all up and holding it all in, even though he really wanted to just break down right there. But even that was just sort of rushed through, where he was just like, he got all this horrible information, was just like, I gotta go. And then he just runs out of the room, and then he has a small scene with Bran, and then it runs straight into him telling Jon who his parents are, that he is the rightful king, and he is Rhaegar Targaryen's son, and low-key, you're fucking your aunt, but we'll come to that later, in what just felt like a very, very rushed fashion, and it just sort of just left me going, you couldn't have panned that out a little better? But as we've learned, Game of Thrones always ends with leaving you wanting more, and it ends with Jaime Lannister coming to Winterfell. He gets off his horse, he's looking around, and he sees Bran just staring at him, and their eyes just lock on one another, and Jaime just has this biggest look of, oh shit. And frankly, that's one of the biggest reunions I've been waiting to see for this entire time, just because I've had this conversation playing out in my mind over and over again. So, hey, so, are you still, paralyzed? Yes, that is very much a lifelong commitment, thanks to you. Right. I think I'm going to head back to King's Landing. This is very awkward. I saw you in King's Landing with your sister in the Sept of Baelor, next to Joffrey's body. You were so beautiful. What? What? Anyway, that was my first impression of watching Game of Thrones Season 8, Episode 1. I hope you guys stay tuned for more as each episode comes out. If you'd like to see more, think about maybe subscribing to my channel and hitting that bell notification. But before I go, some great news! I've hit 300 subscribers! Yeah! It's crazy, I know. I now have enough men to hold the Thermopylae Pass against the Persian army. And for that, I value each and every one of you. So I figured after achieving that milestone, I thought I'd share with you guys my plans for the metamorphosizing of this channel. And my plan is that for every 3 episodes that I make, I will dedicate 1 episode to entirely whatever you want me to talk about. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is related to this channel and its topic, which is all things nerd. So if you want me to talk about something, just comment below about that topic, but do be specific. And whatever comment that gets the most likes or the most votes up, I'll choose that. Or if there's a tie, I'll flip a coin and choose for myself. Or maybe I'll do both, who knows? But with all that being said, thank you guys very much for watching today's episode. I hope you had fun, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.